Knives, stabbing weapons, whatever you want to call them, they are the yardstick of civilization. These weapons, some dangerous, some tools, are most likely used for a basis of survival. That's what this show is going to be about. Which knives to use in what situations. Welcome to 2014. Another episode of the Survival Pit. And since it's absolute zero outside, this is how we're going to start the year. Inside, talking about knives. Alright, so for starters, I'd like to apologize ahead of time as I can't find my bipod to actually put the camera on. So I'm kind of doing this all by hand behind the scenes. And as you can see, I have an unbelievable array of knives. Some I've had for a very long time and some as recent as Christmas. So we'll start with the obvious. This is my POS work cutter, and although it does protrude such a sharp blade, you're not going to cut up many people with this. So I would leave this to cutting open those annoying plastic packages that you can never get open. I'll throw this off to the side because nobody really wants to see what that thing can do. These knives are the usual Swiss Army knife. Can do an array of things. Screwdriver, corkscrew, the bottle can opener, which for some strange reason that escapes my name right now. You know, all the various array of things. Wrench, screwdrivers, even the pair of pliers. Now, this particular knife, I carry this one around with me in my coat all the time. This one sits with my bug out gear. If you ever have to bug out, these are excellent knives to have. However, tactical less, per se, because the knives themselves aren't very sharp. They can cut basic stuff like deer meat, you know, if you're skinning a deer rather. So we're going to roll these off to the side. These two particular knives, this one is actually a 4-point screwdriver and 4-point hex screwdriver, and it's a Sheffield. Now, I'm not displaying all my knives here because I don't feel like rummaging through my bug out bag for my SOG Tomahawk. But this is the next best thing. I've actually tried this knife out. It does pretty good. I get the old steel piece here. Pops right through it like nothing. Alright, so we obviously know this knife works pretty well. This would be an ideal bug out knife and everyday carry knife. The sucker is sharp. You can pretty much see the dent I put in this thing. And, well, I'll put that over there. This knife I got for 10 bucks. It's a Winchester Hawk. And this has to be one of the sharpest knives that I've ever seen. This small, right out of the box. Right through. Didn't even give me a hassle. Beautiful knife. A very good skinning knife. An ideal hunting partner knife. Maybe carry every day. It's very concealable. I like it. We're now going to get to the big stuff. Before people start asking, I do have a K-bar, but I like this knife. I used it with me when I went hunting this year, and this sucker is also really sharp. I got this for Christmas 2 years ago. It's a mossy oak with the sheath, and I was pleasantly surprised as how absolutely incredibly sharp and devastating this knife is. Now, keep in mind that I don't have a bipod and I'm doing this with one hand, so bear with me as much as you can. This knife is incredible. I love this knife. If I was ever in a dire situation, and maybe even not so dire situations, this knife is coming with me. Its own little snap piece here, and it actually does have a belt sheath, which I have used. A very good knife. This knife is one of my favorite knives, and it is also one of my highly regarded knives. It is my AK bayonet knife that came with my AK-47. I love this knife because I don't technically have to carry it. I can simply pack it up and put it on my AK when I go out into the field. And this knife is rugged and sharp too, almost going right through the can. So I definitely would, and I have sharpened this knife on numerous occasions. It's very effective, though its thrust power remains to be a bit of a challenge. It is so purposely made to go stick at the edge of a gun while you're shooting, bayoneting. This next knife here is a ceremonial knife that I picked up, and it is one of my first knives that I've ever received. Would I carry this every day? Absolutely not. What I didn't know about this blade is that it is stainless steel, and it holds a 1048 carbon rating. This sucker is sharp. If you can try to zoom into my finger poking this thing. There you go. But I haven't actually given it the can test to see if it'll actually punch through the can. You ready? Huh. Impressive. These are one of those knives that you can pass by just leaving around somewhere in the house if you don't have kids. And if some intruder just suddenly barges in and you're not ready for it, pull this sucker out. Nice stabby stab. And this is an effective one-time deal knife that I wouldn't mind keeping around. This is the last actual knife that I have. It is a 1918 trench knife. Naturally, it's not an actual trench knife from 1918. It's an Army replica. What I like about this replica is it has a few modifications to it that I like a lot. This is my primary field knife. This will fit in my boot, so if I have to pull it out, just grab it and hinge it. It's got the, well, for now I'll just call it the handguard protection. So if you're going up against somebody else who has a knife, all you gotta do is bust out the knuckles. And it's got this nice little pinion on the head, so when you got them down and out, bink, and you got a nice little hole in their skull. But is the knife itself actually sharp? Let's find out. I haven't actually sharpened this knife yet. This is actually the first time I've stabbed anything with it. As you can see. Ooh, it comes out nice and smooth too. So, very good. And it also has the knuckles. So if you ever need to lay somebody out, nice little punch. I love this knife. There she is in all her glory. 54 inches of full tang steel. Will she be able to punch through that? Well, without destroying the table? Let's find out. Guess that answers your question. She went right through, and I did it as soft as possible. But if you can see the other end, without hurting myself, if you can see the other end, it is protruding slightly. Well, there you have it. My small knife collection. In the end, it doesn't really matter what you use as long as it works. Some people might choose to stick their knives at the end of guns. Others might want the simple, cheap, and affordable carry. And some others might prefer 17th century blades to 20th century blades. Just try to get a blade and test it out and make sure that it functions. My sword cost me some good money, but there are cheap knockoff Japanese swords that wouldn't last one thrust. So always look for the quality, make sure you know what you're buying, and if it's comfortable for you after all those things are said and done, by all means buy it. Two of my blades are missing here, my SOG Tomahawk and my K-Bar. They are currently in my bag and I don't feel like taking them out and showing them off. So maybe in another video. So until next time, I'll see you guys later. Be safe. Stay safe.